Okay, sit yourself onto your lift and come into a good cross-legged position. Feel that you're sitting evenly and that there's levelness at the feet and at the hips. So when we place ourselves, it's really tempting to just kind of plonk yourself down, isn't it? But spend a little time on the base and the rest of the body will follow. So think about how the feet make contact with the floor. Now, just when you just kind of come into a mindless swastikasana, cross legs, then maybe this front leg you kind of roll onto the top of the foot a little, and the back leg you kind of sharply on the outside edge of the outside edge of the foot. So try and mirror that action. So this foot at the front, it will kind of just flop down. See if you can bring action into the outside edge of the foot. So both feet are connecting to the floor in as similar way as possible. And then just have a little wriggle about, just make sure that your hips feel level. And then hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Excuse me. So fill your lungs from the bottom to the top. Take deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Deep conscious in-breaths that fill from the bottom to the top. Deep conscious out-breaths where you empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. Hold onto your knees and draw your elbows towards the back of the room so that you can start to more actively gather your shoulder blades together. With the shoulder blades gathering together, feel that you can lift the chest more effectively. Continue to breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top. Really aiming to make the air in the lungs touch every surface of the lining of the lungs. So try to inflate into the side ribs and the armpit chest, and into the back chest as much as the front chest. So bring in that breath action into every surface of the lungs lining. Release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste, making more space in the armpits by lengthening the armpits into the elbows. Pushing the elbows into the heels of the hands. Ensuring that the little finger side of the heel of the hand is as connected as the thumb side. With an exhalation, allow your eyes to close and just continue to focus on filling the lining of the lungs, or getting the air to touch the lining of the lungs from the bottom to the top, from the sides, from the front to the back. So making the breath as non-resistant as we can, which in turn allows the body to absorb more of the energy of the breath. So rather than mindless seating, mindless breathing. We're mindfully connecting to the ground. We're mindfully breathing. Drawing our attention into the physical body. So we don't draw our attention into the mind, we draw our attention into the physical body, and we allow the mind to draw into the physical body at the same time. So mainly by following the breath. So we don't want self-analytical thought. Probably do enough of that during the day anyway. We want mindful action of the intellectual body. So we go into observation mode, and through observation we can activate. So we can activate the feet, we can activate the seat bones, we can activate the breath. Breathe in as non-resistantly as we possibly can, so that every breath brings in positive energy into the physical body. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Continue to breathe mindfully and spend a little time to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of thankfulness, of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. Just connect the tip of the thumb with the tip of the index finger. Just a gesture of wisdom, of intellectual focus, and of peacefulness that we can carry into our practice. And then release your head, release your eyes, and then hold onto your knees. Hold onto the fronts of your knees and elevate the heart area upwards. Really feel that you can lift and open the chest, drawing the shoulder blades forwards towards the front chest, but continuing to breathe into the back of the lungs as well as the front of the lungs. So maybe you find when you lift the chest, you grip the muscles, and that again resists the breath. So lift the chest and then aim to soften the muscles without dropping. And although there are new challenges in that breath action, see if you can maintain that full surface area breathing. With an out breath, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, your abdomen and your ribs and your shoulders. back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left. Maintaining the mindfulness of the foot connection, mindfulness of the breath. Maximizing the surface area of the breathing. And then come back to the center. Just sit back on your heels and have your knees apart, your feet together, and then lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area upwards. Again, maximizing the surface area breathing. So breathing into the back chest as well as the side ribs and the front chest. Breathing from the bottom to the top as though you're filling a jug with water, and exhaling from the top to the bottom as though you're emptying a jug of water. And then come forward. So the more we can maximize the breath, have your arms wide apart so that you've got space in your neck and your armpit chest. So in Adho Mukha Virasana, the breathing feels different because to a quite significant degree the abdomen is a little restricted with the thighs. But it draws our attention to the abdomen and the abdomen's role in the breath. Because when we inhale, the diaphragm flattens downwards and the abdomen expands outward naturally to accommodate the diaphragm amongst the other organs. And then when you exhale, the diaphragm rises upwards in a dome kind of action, pushing the air out of your lungs, and the abdomen moves in, and that abdomen moving in helps the organs to move up and helps the diaphragm to supports the diaphragm to lift upwards to really make the breath effective. So the diaphragm's role in the breath is really essential, but we never really think about it unless you're a singer or an actor and you learn to speak from your diaphragm or you sing from your diaphragm. Chances are you probably never really consciously know where it is. But you know where your abdomen is, and your abdomen works in support of the diaphragm. Just bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push yourself up into a seated position. Just breathe in and out through the nose. So we're going to do a diaphragm exercise. This is an exercise that I give to singers to find where their diaphragm is. And again, you might know roughly where it is, but you might not kind of necessarily feel what it does. So find the rib cage, find the lower ribs, and then walk your fingers in until you find that soft bit, and then cough. And when you cough, your diaphragm responds. It kind of spasms outwards. So the diaphragm is there. So it goes all the way from it connects to the sternum bone, and it goes all the way back towards the lumbar. So when we breathe in, take a really deep breath in, and the diaphragm lowers, and the abdominal organs kind of move out of the way to accommodate the diaphragm, and that's why the abdomen moves out. When you breathe out, the diaphragm lifts and squeezes the air out of the lungs, like you're squeezing a beach ball, and you can hold the air and you push the air out. So Brahmari pranayama is a really good way of feeling the diaphragm. So sometimes I give this to my singing students because it's a good warm-up as well. So let's just do a couple of rounds of Brahmari, and at the end I want you to go until you really run out of breath, like this. So that's not the way you should normally do Brahmari, but when you push really firmly at the end, that is when you feel the diaphragm really respond. So let's just do one of those, just one of those, and then we'll do normal Brahmari. Just take a normal in breath, normal out breath, a normal in breath, and then a normal out breath. A normal in breath, and then we hum the out breath on a low note until you run out of breath, and keep going until you're literally pushing that breath out. And then return the breath back to normal. So if you felt a tension around here, that's your diaphragm. That's the action of the diaphragm. So when we're breathing, I just want you to be conscious of the diaphragm, of how the diaphragm feels when you breathe in and breathe out. Let's go into dog down. So have your hands as wide apart as the mat, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. And then just come into the pose, straightening the legs, activating the arms and the legs and the spine. And focus on how you feel the lungs. Make that surface area breath. But try and observe the diaphragm's role in the breath. It's easier to observe the abdomen's role in the breath. Try and connect the actions together between the diaphragm and the abdomen. If I'm holding you in dog down for too long, then rest. But if you can stay and maintain, then do. Dog down's a really good position for observing the breath. Okay, come forwards, come up into a standing position. Get some blocks for your hands, and then bring your hands as wide apart as your mat. Just be in Tadasana with a wide leg Tadasana. Aim for that surface area breath. Be conscious of the action of the diaphragm. Lift up into the chest and then hinge at the hips. Come forwards, hinging at the hips, and then come forwards. be on fingertips on the blocks. And then you'll find, again, like in dog down, this is a good position for observing the breath. Observing that surface area breath. If you can go down lower, then do. Maintaining the action of the legs, really straightening the legs, tightening the kneecaps, lifting the seat bones, projecting the chin and the chest forwards, but focusing principally on the breath. If you can reach down to the floor without losing that breath connection, without losing the extension of the spine, then do. Of course, if it's strong in your back, go to a higher lift. Aiming for that surface area breath. Activating the legs like you would normally do. I'm not giving you a lot of instruction as to the physical pose because I want you to focus on the breath, but do the actions of the physical pose that we would normally do. Straight legs, straight back are the priority. If you can reach down and find the outsides of your heels, then do. But again, you'll notice that perhaps like in Adho Mukha Virasana, there's restriction in the abdomen. So if that interrupts your breath or it doesn't feel good in your back, then come forwards again. And then bend your knees to find the floor if you need to. Walk your hands forwards towards the end of your mat. Have the hands shoulder width apart. Step back and have the feet hip width apart. Back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. And again, focus on that surface area breath. Keep your hands where they are, keep the feet where they are, and then swing forwards into dog up. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Feel that you really push into the heels. You lift the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Turn the crease of the elbows to face the front. And really stretch in the diaphragm region. And try and maintain that surface area breath. And then go back up into dog down. So perhaps in dog up, you feel the diaphragm stretch. You push into your heels and you lift the chest sufficiently, then there's a stretch from the center to the side ribs of the diaphragm region. From holding you in dog down too long, then rest. But if you can stay and maintain, then do. When you focus on the breath, perhaps you observe that you can stay for longer in a pose. So surface area breathing, trying to touch the lower outer ribs, the armpit chest, the back of the lungs and the front of the lungs, from the bottom to the top. Okay, come down onto your knees, just sit back on your heels and just observe the energy that you've released through poses so far, that lightness of energy in the limbs. Continue to work with the surface area breathing. So we're trying to maximize that surface area of the breath. Okay, so we're going to do some pranayama. So get your bolster, and you might want to put your bolster on a little ramp, and this is a kind of a nice way to come into these reclining poses. So you can have one block like that, the other block like that, and then you just rest your bolster on the blocks like that. And then you might want something for underneath your head. So you've got a blanket there. So we're going to do Samavritti pranayama. So we should have enough time to do the whole sequence today. So we haven't done the whole sequence because we've always run out of time. So that's why I thought it would be good to kind of start the pranayama section a little earlier. This will feel very calming and really, really energizing as well. So you might want to, if you're chilly, you might want a blanket or whatever to cover your legs, or whatever you might need to bring you warmth. If there's any reason why you shouldn't hold your breath, then and so things like heart conditions, blood pressure issues, certain lung issues, if you shouldn't hold your breath, then rather than doing the stages where we retain the breath, then you just stick with normal even breath. So Samavritti breath is sometimes known as box breathing. It's where you kind of have the in breath, the inhalative retention, the out breath, and the exhalative retention all the same duration. So if you breathe in for 4, so you just see what your normal breath is like, and then you divide that into a count of 4, and then you see what your out breath is like, and then you divide that into a count of 4. You try and make those the in breath and the out breath equal in duration to start off with, and then we introduce the inhalative retention, and we bring that to we start at 1, and then we bring that to 4. So it's like inhalation, retention, inhalation, and then just without exhalative retention, and then you do the same with the exhalative retention. Okay, so retention is literally, so we're kind of that earlier on we were trying to find the diaphragm, and so a retention is literally a suspension of the diaphragm. It's never a grip. It should never feel tense. So when you retain the breath, it's literally where you just let the diaphragm suddenly suspend itself. It doesn't move anymore, and that is all that there should be to it. It shouldn't be anything else. It should never feel like a grip around the throat, around the head, or around the chest. It's just a suspension of the diaphragm. Okay, so let's come into Supta Baddha Konasana. But if Supta Baddha Konasana feels too strong for you to stay in, then you can just stretch your legs out. So just guide yourself down along the bolster. So this just feels really nice, doesn't it? So just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So it not only feels nice, but it gives you the opening of the chest that we really need for good pranayamic breathing. So again, think about the back chest as well as the front chest. So the first stage of Samavritti pranayama is just to observe the breath, like all pranayamas. Just observe your normal breathing with no retentions. And observe which of your breaths are longer, the in-breath or the out-breath. So for me, my out breath is always longer than my in breath, but that might be the other way around for you. If this pose doesn't feel comfortable in the hips, then you can put blocks out on the outsides of the thighs. So after a little while, you start to get used to the general duration of the breath. So again, the in-breath is an inhalation from the bottom of the lungs to the top, touching the surface areas. And the out-breath is an exhalation from the top of the lungs to the bottom. So now you've started to familiarise yourself with the duration of the breath. Start to count the breath over a count of 4. And try and make the in-breath and the out-breath the same length. So just continuing to observe that breath, continuing to just observe the in-breath and the out-breath, just listening to the inhalation and the exhalation. So we're just working to even out the duration of the inhalation and the exhalation. Keep the rhythm soft and achieve uniformity in length of time. Maintaining the perfect soft rhythm. Then, when you have achieved a soft rhythm and an even breath, then we can begin to introduce the internal retention. So, first of all, if your count of the in-breath is for a count of 4, then just retain the in-breath, suspend the diaphragm, just holding that breath briefly for a count of 1. So it's 4, 1, 4. So just no no out breath retention, just an in breath retention, an internal retention, just a suspension of the breath for a count of 1. So 4, 1, 4. And when that that begins to feel comfortable, then increase it to a count of 2. So it's 4, 2, 4. And then increase the count to 3. So 4, 3, 4. Try and keep the units even. So continue to work with 4, 3, 4. Sama means equal, identical, or in the same manner. In Samavritti pranayama, an attempt is made to achieve uniformity in the duration of all the 4 processes of breathing, namely inhalation or puraka, retention antara kumbhaka, exhalation rachaka, and exhalative retention baya kumbhaka. If the duration of puraka or the inhalation is say 5 seconds or 10 seconds, then it should be the same in rachaka or in exhalation and kumbhakas, and the kumbhakas are the retentions. So it's that uniformity. If you're used now to 4, 3, 4, then go to 4, 4, 4. Remember, retention is just a suspension of the diaphragm. It should never be a grip. So once you're used to 4, 4, 4, then we'll introduce the exhalative retention. So it would be inhalative for 4, inhalative retention for 4, exhalation for 4, and then exhalative retention for 1. So 4, 4, 4, 1. And then when you're ready to move from 1 to 2, you could move on to 4, 4, 4, 2. And then just gradually increasing the the exhalative retention until it's 4, 4, 4, 3, and then 4, 4, 4, 4. Without disturbing your Samavritti, maybe just stretch your legs out so that they're out in a straight line, but maintain your Samavritti breathing. And then just start to decrease the number of cycles. Bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just missing out the retention. Bringing the breath back to a normal rhythm. And when you've achieved normality in the breath, just push yourself up into a seated position and come into cross legs. Just again focusing on that surface area breathing. And then turn to your right side with an out breath. Using each following out breath to intensify the turn, no longer retaining the breath at either end. It's normal inhalation, normal exhalation. Come back to the center and then turn to the left. Intensifying the turn with each exhalation. And then come back to the center. Just remove the bolster and the blocks. Just have the bolster from underneath your knees. Have a folded blanket for your head. And then just come down into Shavasana. Just lay yourself down onto the floor. Let the body become heavy. Unhook consciously the muscles of the arms and the legs. Just let the body become heavy on the floor, just observing the feeling of energetic lightness in the limbs. Use your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that lightness into the toes, into the fingertips and up into the top of the head. And when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, have the feet apart, the knees together, just rest in your lower back into the floor. And then draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, and then roll onto your right side, stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that calming, positive energy that the extensions and the breath work bring to the body and to the mind. Pranayama. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy around the heart area. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Just a gesture of wisdom, physical intelligence and peacefulness that we can carry into our day. And then raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and you've given yourself some good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining.